Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff that never ends. No wind, no birds, no horizon. Just darkness, stacked on top of darkness. That is the deep ocean. Not a metaphorical darkness, not a poetic one. Actual, physical, sunlight has given up darkness. Once you pass a certain depth, the sun might as well have packed its bags, left a note, and said, "Good luck down there." And this is not some tiny, forgotten corner of the planet. This is most of it. The deep sea makes up the majority of Earth's living space, yet for most of human history, it has been as unreachable as another galaxy. We mapped the moon before we mapped the ocean floor, which says a lot about both space and our fear of getting wet. If this quiet journey through the deep sea, seen through robotic eyes, helps you relax tonight, please like the video. Subscribe to the Deep Sea Documentary channel and leave a comment sharing when and where you're listening, so this calm science can reach more people who fall asleep to the wonders of the ocean. For a long time, humans assumed that if we could not see the deep ocean, it probably was not doing much. Maybe a few sad fish drifting around, waiting for the end. Turns out that assumption was spectacularly wrong. The deep sea is busy. It is complex. It is weird in a way that makes science fiction look underprepared. But the only reason we know any of this is because we stopped trying to send ourselves down there and started sending something better suited to the job. Robots, machines that do not breathe, do not panic, and do not mind being alone in the dark for 12 hours straight. In other words, the perfect interns. The idea of robotic eyes is simple but powerful. If humans cannot go somewhere safely, we build something that can. These machines become our senses. Their cameras become our vision. Their microphones become our ears. Their instruments become our fingertips. When a robot descends into the deep ocean, every pixel it records is the first time a human mind has ever processed that view. No footprints, no history, just raw discovery streaming back through cables and satellites to a room full of scientists whispering, "What is that thing?" in unison. What makes this so fascinating is that these robots are not just tools. They are extensions of human curiosity. Every dive begins with a question. What lives here? What does the seafloor look like? How does life survive without sunlight? And sometimes, the answer is something nobody thought to ask. A shape moving in a way that breaks the rules. A flash of light where there should be none. A structure on the seafloor that looks suspiciously organized for something that supposedly does not care about aesthetics. The deep ocean has always been a problem for storytelling because humans like characters they can relate to. Faces, emotions, dialogue. The deep sea offers none of that at first glance, just darkness and pressure. But robots change the narrative. Suddenly, there is a protagonist again. A mechanical explorer lowering itself into the unknown, its cameras blinking on like nervous eyes. Its motors humming quietly as it sinks past familiar depths into places no human has ever seen directly. It is not brave. It is not scared. But we are. We project everything onto it, sitting safely on the surface while our metal avatar does the terrifying part. There is also something deeply humbling about watching the deep sea through robotic eyes. These machines do not exaggerate. They do not dramatize. They simply show what is there. And what is there often feels like it was designed by a committee that never once consulted humans. animals with no obvious front or back, creatures that glow, stretch, or vanish, landscapes shaped by forces operating on timescales we struggle to comprehend. The robot does not react, but the humans watching usually do. Gasps, laughter, occasionally silence, which is the scientific version of being emotionally overwhelmed. Robotic exploration also flips the usual relationship between humans and machines. On land, we tell machines exactly what to do. In the deep ocean, we rely on them to tell us what exists. They are not just following instructions, they are revealing reality. When a robotic camera pans slowly across the seafloor, it is not just documenting terrain. It is rewriting textbooks. Every dive has the potential to prove that our assumptions were incomplete, outdated, or adorably naive. And perhaps the most remarkable part is that this exploration is still just beginning. For all our technology, we have visually explored only a tiny fraction of the deep ocean. That means there are entire ecosystems, geological features, and biological strategies that have never been seen by human eyes, biological or robotic. They exist right now, going about their business, completely indifferent to whether we ever notice them. So when we talk about exploring the deep sea with robotic eyes, we are really talking about curiosity made physical, about building machines not to conquer or extract, but simply to look, to observe, to learn. In a world where almost everything feels mapped, labelled, and categorized, the deep ocean remains gloriously unknown. And thanks to robots, we finally have a way to look into that darkness and say, with genuine excitement, we have absolutely no idea what we are about to see. The deep sea is not dangerous in the dramatic, action movie way where something immediately chases you. It is dangerous in a far more efficient, patient way. It simply exists, and if you are human, that alone is enough to cause problems. Lots of them. The moment you leave the sunlit surface and descend into the deeper layers of the ocean, the environment begins stripping away every assumption your body has ever made about how reality works. Breathing becomes impossible. Light disappears, and the ocean starts pressing in from all sides like it is deeply offended by your presence. Let us start with pressure, because pressure is the deep sea's favorite personality trait. At the surface, your body is comfortably used to the weight of the atmosphere above it. You do not notice it, because you have spent your entire life carrying it around, like a backpack you forgot you were wearing. But water is much heavier than air, and the deeper you go, the more of it stacks on top of you. Every 10 meters adds another layer of force, quietly increasing, patiently waiting. By the time you reach the deep sea, the pressure is so intense that it does not crush things dramatically. It simply erases empty space. Any pocket of air, any gap, any structure not built to resist it, gets flattened instantly. A human body, full of squishy bits and hopeful optimism, would not stand a chance. You would not feel pain. You would not have time to panic. You would become soup. Very expensive, scientifically interesting soup, but soup nonetheless. Then there is the cold. Not the refreshing cold of a winter morning or the mild discomfort of forgetting a jacket. This is cold that seeps into everything because it never goes away. Deep ocean temperatures hover just above freezing, and they stay that way year-round. No seasons, no warm afternoons, just an eternal refrigerator the size of a planet. Human bodies rely on a narrow temperature range to function. Our enzymes, muscles, and brains are all tuned to cozy internal warmth. In the deep sea, that warmth bleeds away rapidly. Without protection, hypothermia would set in fast. And not in a cinematic, shivering hero way. More like a quiet shutdown, as your body realizes it is losing a battle it never trained for. And then there is the darkness. Not nighttime darkness, where the moon still gives you a vague outline of things. Not a power outage darkness, where you can still imagine the room around you. This is total darkness. Once sunlight disappears, it does not gradually fade. It stops. Photons simply do not make it that far down. Your eyes, incredible as they are, become decorative. Vision, one of humanity's most trusted senses, is rendered completely useless. You could wave your hand in front of your face and see absolutely nothing. The deep sea does not care that your brain evolved to interpret visual information. Down there, sight is optional. And for humans, it is not even an option. The combination of pressure, cold, and darkness creates an environment that is not just uncomfortable, but fundamentally incompatible with human biology. Our bodies are designed for land, air, and sunlight. We are upright, warm, oxygen-breathing creatures who panic when we cannot see what is around us. The deep sea flips every one of those preferences upside down. There is no oxygen to breathe, no warmth to steal from the environment, and no visual cues to orient yourself. Even sound behaves differently underwater, traveling farther and faster in ways that would disorient anyone not used to it. Your instincts, the ones that keep you alive on land, would be confidently wrong at every turn. What makes this hostility especially fascinating is that it is not aggressive. The deep sea is not trying to kill you. It does not notice you at all. There are no warning signs, no dramatic countdowns. It simply enforces its rules with absolute consistency. You either adapt perfectly, or you do not survive. There is no middle ground, no learning curve, no maybe next time. Evolution has had millions of years to shape organisms that belong there. Humans have had zero, and it shows. This realization was a turning point in our relationship with the ocean. Early explorers dreamed of conquering the depths the way we crossed continents. But the deep sea made it very clear that this was not a place for conquest. It was a place for respect. You do not march into the deep ocean. You negotiate with it. Carefully. From a distance. And that is why humans stopped trying to send themselves down there unprotected. Not because of fear, but because of physics. The deep sea operates under rules that are brutally fair and entirely uninterested in human ambition. Down there, bravery does not help. Strength does not help. Good intentions definitely do not help. The environment always wins. So when we say the deep sea is hostile, we do not mean it is evil. We mean it is honest. It tells you exactly what it is. And if you listen closely, the message is very clear. You do not belong here, not like this. Once humans accepted that their bodies were spectacularly unsuited for the deep ocean, a new question emerged. If we cannot go there ourselves, how badly do we still want to know what is down there? The answer, unsurprisingly, was very badly. Curiosity has never been something humans are good at turning off, even when the environment clearly says no entry. So instead of redesigning the human body, engineers did what engineers do best. They redesigned the problem. The earliest attempts to explore the deep ocean involved manned submersibles, essentially tiny metal bubbles filled with air, hope, and a limited number of sandwiches. These machines worked, but only up to a point. Every extra meter of depth required thicker walls, heavier materials, and more complex systems to keep the people inside alive. It quickly became obvious that sending humans down was not just dangerous, it was inefficient. Humans need oxygen, warmth, food, lighting, and psychological reassurance that they are not about to be crushed like a soda can. All of that takes space, energy, and constant monitoring. The ocean did not care. So engineers had a quiet but revolutionary thought. What if we removed the human entirely? No breathing, no windows, no life support, just a machine designed to survive conditions that would instantly destroy us. This idea did not come with a dramatic announcement. It crept in through practicality. If the goal was data, not heroics, then a robot made far more sense. Machines do not mind pressure. They do not feel cold. They do not care about darkness. And most importantly, when something goes wrong, they do not die. They simply stop working, which is still tragic, but significantly less so. The first deep-sea robots were not sleek or graceful. They looked like metal boxes with wires, cameras bolted on as an afterthought, and lights that seemed wildly optimistic. Early engineers were inventing an entirely new category of machines, and they were doing it without precedent. There were no instruction manuals for building something that could survive hours in crushing pressure while still sending information back to the surface. Every successful dive was a small miracle. Every failure was a very expensive lesson. One of the biggest challenges was trust. Humans had to trust that a machine they could not see, operating in an environment they could not experience, was doing what they asked it to do. There was no real-time video at first, no smooth joystick controls. Sometimes data arrived slowly, sometimes not at all. Engineers would wait, staring at instruments, hoping the robot was still there, still functioning, still intact. It was a strange, emotional shift. The explorer was no longer the person in the machine. The explorer was the machine itself. These early robots changed the psychology of exploration. For centuries, exploration had been about human endurance and courage. Who could go farther, survive longer, endure more? Deep-sea robots quietly replaced that narrative with something else entirely. Exploration became about design, planning, and patience. Instead of asking, "Can a person survive this?" the question became, "Can we build something that does not care?" And that turned out to be a much more solvable problem. There was also an unexpected benefit to using robots. Without humans on board, engineers could take risks they never would have considered otherwise. A robot could be sent deeper, closer to the seafloor, nearer to unknown terrain. If it failed, it would be disappointing, but not catastrophic. This freedom led to bolder missions and faster innovation. Engineers experimented with shapes, materials, and systems, learning what worked by pushing machines until they broke, then building better ones. The robots themselves did not panic, but the people watching often did. Early dives were filled with tense moments where signals flickered or data stopped coming in. Was the robot stuck? Had it been damaged? Was it lost forever? And then, suddenly, the connection would stabilize, and the machine would continue its slow, methodical work as if nothing had happened. In those moments, it became clear that robots were not just tools. They were partners in exploration, calmly enduring conditions that would make any human reconsider their career choices. By handing exploration over to machines, humans did not lose their role, they refined it. Scientists became interpreters rather than adventurers, translating sensor readings and grainy images into understanding. Engineers became storytellers in metal and circuitry, designing machines that could venture where no one else could. The deep ocean remained just as hostile, just as alien. But now it had visitors who were perfectly happy to be there. And that realization marked a turning point. The deep sea was no longer off limits. It was simply difficult. And difficulty, for humans, has never been a reason to stop. Once engineers proved that robots could survive the deep ocean, the next challenge was control. It is one thing to build a machine that can endure extreme conditions. It is another thing entirely to tell that machine where to go, what to look at, and when to stop bumping into things. This is where remotely operated vehicles, or ROVs, entered the story, bringing with them one of the most important and misunderstood pieces of deep-sea technology, the tether. At first glance, the idea seems counterintuitive. If you are sending a robot thousands of meters into the ocean, why attach it to a ship with an extremely long cable? Would that not get tangled, snagged, or generally cause stress for everyone involved? The answer is yes, sometimes it does. But that cable is also the robot's lifeline. It carries power, commands, and data all at once, forming a physical connection between the surface world and the deep sea. Without it, early ROVs would have been little more than very determined paperweights. The tether allows operators on the ship to control the robot in real time. Every movement of a joystick, every adjustment of a camera angle, every activation of a tool is transmitted instantly down the cable. In return, video feeds and sensor data race back up to the surface, giving scientists a live view of places no human could ever visit. It is exploration by proxy. The robot moves, but the humans feel like they are there, leaning closer to screens, arguing over where to go next, and collectively holding their breath when the vehicle approaches something interesting or expensive. Calling an ROV an underwater kite is not entirely a joke. Like a kite, it is constantly influenced by forces it cannot fully control. Ocean currents push and pull on the vehicle and its tether, creating a delicate balancing act. Too much slack, and the cable can loop or snag. Too much tension, and you risk stressing the system. Skilled pilots learn to read these invisible forces, adjusting thrusters and position with subtlety that looks effortless, but absolutely is not. It is less like driving a car and more like flying a very stubborn balloon in slow motion. The ship above plays an equally important role. It is not just a launch platform, it is part of the system. Large winches manage the tether, paying it out and pulling it back in with careful precision. Dynamic positioning systems keep the ship steady over a single point in the ocean, compensating for wind and waves so the robot below is not dragged sideways. In rough seas, this becomes a test of coordination between crew, pilots, and engineers. Everyone has a job, and if one piece fails, the entire operation feels it. One of the greatest advantages of ROVs is endurance. Because they are powered from the surface through the tether, they do not rely on onboard batteries. This means they can stay underwater for long periods, sometimes many hours or even days, without needing to return to the surface. For scientists, this is a gift. It allows slow, careful exploration. You can stop, observe, adjust, and investigate without constantly worrying about running out of energy. The deep sea does not reveal its secrets quickly, and ROVs are patient enough to wait. The real-time connection also transforms how discoveries happen. When an ROV encounters something unexpected, Scientists do not have to guess what it is based on delayed data. They can react immediately, zoom in, change angle, collect additional information, ask new questions on the spot. This responsiveness turns exploration into a conversation rather than a one-way message. The deep sea shows something strange, and humans reply, "Wait, what was that? Go back." Of course, the tether is not without its drawbacks. It limits how far an ROV can travel horizontally and introduces constant logistical challenges. Pilots must always be aware of the cable's position, especially near rugged terrain. There is an ongoing tension between freedom and connection. The tether grants power and communication, but it also demands caution and skill. In many ways, it embodies the relationship between humans and the deep sea itself. We can explore, but only if we stay connected to the surface. Despite these challenges, ROVs became the workhorses of deep-sea exploration. They brought clarity, control, and consistency to a place defined by uncertainty. They allowed scientists not just to visit the deep ocean, but to work there, turning fleeting glimpses into sustained observation. And through that long cable, stretching from ship to seafloor, the deep sea stopped being a distant mystery and started becoming a place we could truly study, one careful movement at a time. As impressive as remotely operated vehicles are, their greatest strength is also their greatest limitation. They are always connected, always tethered, always dependent on a ship hovering above them like a worried parent. Engineers eventually began asking a bold question. What if a deep-sea robot did not need constant supervision? What if it could be given a mission, pointed toward the unknown, and trusted to figure things out on its own? That question gave rise to autonomous underwater vehicles, or AUVs, the quiet overachievers of ocean exploration. An autonomous underwater vehicle is exactly what it sounds like. Once deployed, it operates independently, without a live connection to humans. There is no cable feeding it commands or power. Instead, it carries everything it needs on board: energy, navigation systems, sensors, and a carefully planned set of instructions. It is told where to go, what to measure, and when to come home. Then it disappears into the water, alone with its algorithms and the vastness of the deep ocean. If that sounds slightly unsettling, that is because it is. Without human pilots watching every move, AUVs must make decisions in real time. They navigate complex environments using internal maps, inertial navigation systems, and acoustic signals that help them understand their position. They constantly adjust their path, compensating for currents, obstacles, and unexpected terrain. All of this happens silently, in complete darkness, without applause or encouragement. If something goes wrong, there is no immediate rescue. The vehicle must either adapt or fail gracefully. In engineering terms, this is called robustness. In human terms, it is called being left alone with your thoughts for 12 hours. The independence of AUVs allows them to do things that tethered robots cannot. They can travel long distances across the seafloor, tracing precise patterns that would be impossible to manage manually. They can slip into narrow spaces and follow contours with remarkable accuracy. Because they are not limited by a cable, they move more freely, more efficiently, and often more quietly. This makes them ideal for tasks that require consistency and scale rather than moment-to-moment decision-making. Designing a machine to operate autonomously in the deep ocean is an exercise in humility. Engineers must anticipate problems the vehicle might encounter and program responses in advance. What if the seafloor rises unexpectedly? What if the vehicle drifts off course? What if a sensor fails? The robot cannot ask for help. It cannot improvise beyond its programming, so its instructions must be both precise and flexible, a balance that is notoriously difficult to achieve. Too rigid, and the mission fails at the first surprise. Too loose, and the robot may wander off with no clear purpose, becoming an extremely expensive drifter. One of the most fascinating aspects of AUVs is how they perceive the world. Without cameras streaming live video to humans, they rely heavily on instruments that translate the environment into data. Depth, orientation, speed, distance, and chemical signatures all become inputs into the vehicle's internal understanding of its surroundings. To an AUV, the deep ocean is not dark or cold. It is a set of numbers changing over time, a gradient to follow, a boundary to respect. In this way, the robot experiences the ocean in a fundamentally different way than we ever could. There is also a quiet trust involved in launching an AUV. Once it disappears beneath the surface, the ship waits. Hours pass, sometimes days. The only sign that the vehicle is still alive is a scheduled return or a faint acoustic signal. When it finally resurfaces, carrying its collected data, there is a moment of collective relief. The robot made it back. It did what it was supposed to do. In that moment, the machine feels less like a tool and more like a colleague who has returned from a solo expedition with stories to tell, albeit in spreadsheet form. AUVs have changed the pace and scale of deep-sea exploration. They allow scientists to gather massive amounts of information efficiently, covering areas that would take far longer using other methods. They do not get tired. They do not lose focus. They execute their missions with calm, algorithmic dedication. And while they lack the adaptability of human-guided robots, their ability to operate independently makes them indispensable. In many ways, autonomous underwater vehicles represent a philosophical shift. They embody a willingness to let go of control, to trust machines to explore on our behalf without constant oversight. They remind us that understanding the deep ocean does not always require a guiding hand, just a well-prepared mind, even if that mind is made of code. Alone in the dark, these robots quietly expand our knowledge, proving that sometimes the best explorer is the one who does not need anyone watching. Down in the deep ocean, light is a luxury no one can afford. Photons give up early, and vision, as humans understand it, becomes irrelevant. So deep-sea robots do what evolution has already taught many ocean animals to do. They stop trying to see and start trying to listen. Sonar is not vision in the traditional sense, but in the deep sea, it is the closest thing to sight that actually works. It is a way of turning sound into shape, distance, and meaning, all without ever flipping on a light switch. At its core, sonar is beautifully simple. A robot sends out a sound pulse and waits. That sound travels through the water, hits something solid, and bounces back. The robot measures how long the echo takes to return and uses that time delay to calculate distance. It is exactly like shouting into a canyon and judging how far away the walls are based on when your voice comes back. Except the canyon is pitch black, underwater, and judging you silently in return. The deep sea becomes a three-dimensional space, defined by echoes rather than edges. Sound is incredibly good at traveling through water. It moves faster and farther than it does through air, which makes it the perfect messenger in a dark environment. Deep-sea robots take advantage of this by using carefully tuned sound frequencies, chosen to balance range, resolution, and clarity. Low-frequency sounds travel far, but provide less detail. High-frequency sounds offer sharper resolution, but fade more quickly. Engineers must decide what kind of listening they want their robot to do, whether it is scanning a broad area or focusing on fine details nearby. What makes sonar truly fascinating is not just sending out sound, but interpreting what comes back. An echo is not just a ping, it carries information about texture, shape, and orientation. A flat surface reflects sound differently than a rough one. A soft object absorbs more sound than a hard one. By analysing these subtle differences, robots can distinguish between open water, rocky terrain, and unexpected obstacles. To a human ear, it might all sound like noise. To a robot, it is a detailed conversation with the environment. This process requires serious computational work. Each sonar pulse produces streams of data that must be processed and translated into usable information. The robot builds an internal representation of its surroundings, updating it constantly as new echoes arrive. There is no single moment where the picture becomes clear. Instead, understanding emerges gradually, echo by echo, as the robot refines its interpretation. It is less like taking a photograph and more like sculpting a scene out of sound. There is also a strange poetry to the idea of robots navigating by listening. In the deep sea, nothing announces itself visually. Everything reveals itself through interaction. Sonar turns absence into presence. Empty space becomes measurable. Objects become audible. Even silence has meaning. When a sound pulse does not come back as expected, that absence tells the robot something important. Maybe there is open water ahead. Maybe the sound scattered in an unexpected way. In the deep sea, not hearing something can be just as informative as hearing it. Of course, sonar is not perfect. Sound can behave unpredictably underwater, bending and scattering due to changes in temperature, salinity, and pressure. These variations create layers in the water that can distort echoes, making objects appear closer or farther than they really are. Engineers must account for these effects, building systems that can adapt to changing conditions. The robot is not just listening to the environment, it is constantly recalibrating its expectations of how sound should behave in that environment. There is also an art to restraint. Too much sound can interfere with other systems or create confusing reflections. Deep-sea robots must balance how often they emit sonar pulses, choosing moments carefully. Each ping is a question posed to the darkness. Too many questions, and the answers overlap. Too few, and the picture remains incomplete. Effective sonar use is about asking the right questions at the right time. Perhaps the most remarkable thing about sonar is how unintuitive it is for humans. We are visual creatures. We trust our eyes. Sound, to us, is secondary. But in the deep sea, sound becomes primary, and robots are built to embrace that reality fully. They do not miss the light. They do not wish for clearer views. They thrive on echoes. So when a deep-sea robot sends out a sonar pulse, it is not just navigating. It is communicating with an environment that refuses to be seen. It is yelling into the abyss, yes, but with purpose, patience, and very good hearing. And when the abyss answers back, In echoes layered with meaning, the robot listens carefully, turning sound into understanding in a world where listening is the only way to know what is there. Even in a world ruled by sound, sight still matters. While sonar helps robots understand shape and distance, cameras provide something equally important: context. They show color, movement, and fine detail that sound alone cannot capture. But putting a camera into the deep ocean is not as simple as sealing it in a box and hoping for the best. Down there, the ocean does not politely press against equipment. It tries to crush it into a philosophical lesson about humility. The biggest enemy of deep-sea cameras is pressure. At extreme depths, the force exerted by the surrounding water is immense and unrelenting. Any weak point becomes an invitation for disaster. Lenses, housings, and especially windows must withstand forces that would shatter ordinary materials instantly. A typical camera lens on land is designed to deal with gravity, minor impacts, and maybe an unfortunate drop. In the deep ocean, that same lens would be reduced to fragments before it had time to regret its career choices. To solve this, engineers had to rethink what a window even is. Instead of flat glass, deep-sea cameras often use thick, carefully shaped viewing ports made from materials like specialized glass or acrylic. These are not just stronger, they are designed to distribute pressure evenly across their surface. Spherical or domed shapes are common because they resist deformation far better than flat panels. It is the difference between standing on thin ice and standing inside a well-built dome. One cracks, the other politely refuses. The material itself is only part of the story. Clarity is just as important as strength. A window that survives the pressure but distorts the image is not particularly useful. Engineers must balance optical precision with structural integrity, ensuring that light passes through cleanly, while the material remains strong enough to survive hours or days under crushing force. This requires meticulous manufacturing and testing. Tiny imperfections that would be harmless on land can become catastrophic underwater. Lighting is another challenge entirely. Without natural light, cameras must bring their own. Deep-sea robots use powerful artificial lights to illuminate their surroundings, revealing details that would otherwise remain hidden. But lighting underwater is tricky. Water absorbs and scatters light, especially at certain wavelengths. Reds and yellows disappear quickly, leaving everything tinted blue unless corrected. Engineers must carefully design lighting systems that provide even illumination without overwhelming the camera or washing out details. Heat management also plays a role. High-intensity lights generate heat, and in a sealed, pressure-resistant housing, that heat has nowhere to go. Engineers must ensure that cameras and lights can operate without overheating, even while surrounded by near-freezing water. This creates a strange balancing act. The environment outside is cold and crushing, while the electronics inside are warm and fragile. Keeping everything happy at once is an engineering puzzle that has no room for improvisation. Then, there is the issue of focus. Water changes how light bends, affecting how lenses behave. A camera that works perfectly in air will not focus the same way underwater. Engineers must account for this, calibrating lenses specifically for use in water and at depth. Every adjustment is intentional. There is no room for guesswork when the camera cannot be manually adjusted once deployed. What you send down is what you get. Despite all these challenges, the payoff is extraordinary. When a deep-sea camera works, It delivers images that feel almost unreal. Creatures drift into view, their textures and movements revealed in stunning detail. The seafloor stretches out, showing patterns shaped by forces far older than humanity. These images are not just data, they are emotional. They spark curiosity, awe, and sometimes laughter at how strange life can be when it evolves without consulting humans. There is also something deeply satisfying about the fact that these cameras are doing something so fundamentally human: looking. Engineers build them to endure conditions that humans cannot, but the purpose remains the same: to see what is there, to turn the unknown into something visible. Each successful frame is proof that careful design and stubborn curiosity can overcome even the most unwelcoming environments. So when a robotic camera peers into the deep ocean through its pressure-resistant window, it is not just surviving. It is performing a quiet act of defiance. The ocean presses in with unimaginable force, and the camera simply keeps looking, unblinking, unafraid, and very glad it was built better than fear itself. Seeing the deep sea is one thing. Touching it is another entirely. Images can inspire questions, but physical samples provide answers. What is this organism made of? How old is this rock? What chemicals are present here? To answer those questions, deep-sea robots need hands, or at least the mechanical equivalent. And designing a robotic arm that can operate in the deep ocean is a masterclass in doing something delicate with equipment that looks like it was borrowed from a construction site. Robotic manipulators, as engineers politely call them, are essentially mechanical arms equipped with joints, motors, and gripping tools. They are mounted to the front of deep-sea robots, extending outward like cautious feelers. These arms must perform a wide range of tasks, from picking up fragile biological specimens to scraping rock surfaces or placing instruments on the seafloor. The challenge is that they must do all of this while resisting crushing pressure, operating in near-freezing temperatures and responding to commands with precision. It is like trying to thread a needle while wearing metal gloves and standing at the bottom of the ocean. One of the first hurdles is feedback. Humans rely heavily on touch to judge how much force they are applying. We feel resistance, texture, and weight automatically. Robotic arms do not have nerves. Instead, they rely on sensors that measure force, torque, and position. These sensors feed data back to the control system, allowing operators or onboard computers to estimate how firmly the arm is gripping something. But this feedback is not intuitive. It must be interpreted, translated into numbers and visual cues, and acted upon carefully. Too much force, and a fragile specimen is destroyed. Too little, and it drifts away, lost to the current. The design of the grippers themselves is equally important. Some are shaped like claws, others like pincers, and some use specialized attachments for specific tasks. Engineers must anticipate what the robot might encounter and equip it accordingly. A single mission might require multiple tools, each designed for a different type of interaction. Switching between these tools underwater is not trivial, and every added capability increases complexity. In the deep sea, simplicity is a survival strategy. Movement adds another layer of difficulty. Water resistance slows and dampens motion, which can be helpful for control but challenging for precision. Every movement of the arm creates small currents that can push lightweight objects away. Operators must learn to move slowly, deliberately, almost gracefully. There is a rhythm to it, a kind of underwater choreography. Sudden motions are discouraged. Patience is mandatory. There is also the problem of visibility. Even with good cameras and lighting, depth perception underwater can be misleading. Objects may appear closer or farther than they really are. The robotic arm must approach its target carefully, often relying on multiple camera angles to avoid accidental collisions. This makes simple tasks feel complex. Picking up a small sample becomes a carefully staged operation involving planning, alignment, and steady execution. Despite these challenges, robotic arms have become indispensable. They allow scientists to interact with the deep sea in ways that were once unimaginable. Samples collected by these tools are brought back to the surface and analyzed in detail, revealing information about chemistry, biology, and geology that images alone could never provide. Each sample is a physical connection between the surface world and the deep ocean, a piece of an environment that rarely gives anything away. There is also something deeply human about watching a robot carefully grasp an object on the seafloor. The movements are slow and deliberate, almost tentative. It feels less like a machine at work and more like a cautious explorer reaching out for the first time. When a delicate specimen is successfully collected and secured, there is often a moment of quiet celebration among the team watching. The robot does not react, but the humans do. In the end, robotic arms remind us that exploration is not just about seeing new places. It is about interaction, about learning through contact. These mechanical hands, clumsy yet precise, allow us to reach into an environment we cannot survive in and gently take what we need to understand it. Steel oven mitts or not, they have become our touch in a world that would never allow us to reach out on our own. For a long time, humans believed that sunlight was the foundation of all life on Earth. Plants captured it. Animals ate the plants, or ate the animals that ate the plants, and everything traced back to the sun like a cosmic family tree. It was a neat, comforting idea. Then deep-sea robots arrived at hydrothermal vents and politely shattered that assumption. Hydrothermal vents are cracks in the ocean floor where seawater seeps down into the Earth's crust, gets heated by magma, and then bursts back out loaded with dissolved minerals. The water that emerges can be incredibly hot, rich in chemicals, and completely devoid of sunlight. On paper, this sounds like an awful place to live. In reality, it is one of the most biologically intense environments on the planet. Before robotic exploration, hydrothermal vents were purely theoretical. Scientists suspected they might exist based on geological models, but no human could survive long enough at those depths to confirm it. When robots finally reached these locations, cameras revealed something astonishing. The seafloor around vents was not barren, it was crowded. Dense communities of organisms clustered around the vent openings, thriving in conditions that should have made life impossible. It was as if someone had built a bustling city in the middle of a volcanic wasteland. The key to these ecosystems is chemistry. Instead of relying on sunlight, life around hydrothermal vents is powered by chemical energy. Certain microbes can use compounds, like hydrogen sulfide, which is toxic to humans, as an energy source. These microbes form the base of the vent food web, supporting larger organisms in ways that were completely unexpected when first observed. This process rewrote textbooks and forced scientists to rethink the very definition of a habitable environment. Deep-sea robots were essential to this discovery. Hydrothermal vents are not just deep, they are dynamic. The water flowing from them can reach extreme temperatures, and the surrounding environment is constantly changing. Robots equipped with cameras and sensors could approach cautiously, documenting the structures and organisms without being destroyed. They could linger, observe, and return with data that humans could analyze in detail. Without these machines, vent ecosystems might still be nothing more than a hypothesis. The creatures living around vents are as strange as the environment itself, Many are large, bizarrely shaped, and unfamiliar. Some rely on symbiotic relationships with microbes, hosting them inside their bodies like internal power plants. Others form dense clusters, taking advantage of the chemical-rich water flowing past them. The absence of sunlight means these animals do not follow the same rules as surface life. Their colors, structures, and behaviors reflect a world built on entirely different energy economics. Hydrothermal vents also revealed something profound about the adaptability of life. These ecosystems operate under conditions of extreme heat, pressure, and chemical intensity, yet they are stable and productive. Life did not just tolerate these conditions, it embraced them. This discovery expanded the boundaries of what scientists considered possible, not just on Earth, but beyond it. If life could thrive here, in darkness and chemical chaos, then perhaps it could exist in other extreme environments elsewhere in the universe. Robotic exploration allowed scientists to study vents over time, not just as static snapshots. Repeated visits showed how vent structures grow, collapse, and reform. Entire communities can shift as vent activity changes, demonstrating a dynamic balance between geology and biology. This long-term perspective would be impossible without machines that can return again and again, immune to the conditions that would kill a human. There is also a strange beauty to hydrothermal vents. The mineral-rich water often forms towering structures as it cools, creating chimney-like formations that rise from the sea floor. Robots have captured images of these structures, glowing against the darkness, surrounded by swarms of life. It is a reminder that beauty does not require sunlight, just the right combination of energy and time. In revealing hydrothermal vent ecosystems, deep-sea robots did more than discover new life. They changed how we think about life itself. They showed us that the rules we thought were universal were actually just local. And in doing so, they proved that the deep ocean is not a lifeless void, but a place where life finds a way, even when the sun never shows up to help. In the deep ocean, darkness is not just a backdrop, it is the default state of existence. And yet, every so often, that darkness flashes, a pulse of blue, a shimmer of green, a sudden spark where nothing should be visible at all. These moments are not accidents or reflections. They are bioluminescence. And without robotic eyes watching patiently in the dark, humans might never have realized just how common, creative, and downright opinionated underwater light can be. Bioluminescence is the ability of living organisms to produce light through chemical reactions in their bodies. It is not heat, not electricity, and definitely not magic, although it feels like it should be. Instead, specific molecules react in the presence of oxygen, releasing energy in the form of visible light. The result is a glow that can be steady, pulsing, or explosive, depending on the species. In the deep sea, this is not a rare trick. It is one of the most widespread survival strategies on the planet. Before robots ventured into the depths with sensitive cameras, much of bioluminescent behavior went unseen. Many deep-sea animals only emit light under certain conditions, often in response to movement, threat, or opportunity. Bright lights from human submersibles could overwhelm or alter these behaviors. Robotic explorers, however, can move quietly, dim their lights, or even turn them off entirely, allowing natural displays to unfold. In these moments, the deep sea reveals itself not as empty darkness, but as a living light show with no audience except the machines and the humans watching from afar. The reasons animals produce light are as varied as the creatures themselves. Some use it to attract prey, dangling glowing lures in front of curious victims who mistake illumination for opportunity. Others use flashes to confuse predators, creating sudden bursts of light that disorient or distract long enough for an escape. Some species even use light for communication, signaling to potential mates or rivals in patterns as specific as any spoken language. In the deep sea, light is not decoration, it is information. Robotic cameras have captured bioluminescence in action in ways that human eyes never could. High-sensitivity sensors record faint glows and rapid flashes, revealing details invisible to us. Slow-motion footage shows how light spreads through water, how it interacts with movement, and how it changes depending on the animal's behavior. These observations have transformed bioluminescence from a curiosity into a field of serious study, uncovering layers of complexity that were previously hidden. One of the most fascinating discoveries is how different species tune their light. The color of bioluminescence is not random. Most deep-sea light falls within blue and green wavelengths, which travel farthest in water. This makes the light more visible to intended viewers, while minimizing wasted energy. Some animals take this a step further, producing light that matches the faint glow from above, effectively camouflaging themselves when seen from below. It is a level of visual strategy that feels almost unfair, especially coming from creatures that do not even have sunlight as a reference. There is also a strange intimacy to watching bioluminescence through robotic eyes. These displays are often triggered by disturbance, and robots become part of that interaction. A passing vehicle may set off a cascade of light as tiny organisms react, creating glowing clouds that swirl and fade. It is as if the ocean itself is responding, acknowledging the intruder in the only language it has. The robot does not flinch, but the humans watching often do. Beyond beauty, bioluminescence offers insight into deep-sea ecology. Light patterns can reveal population densities, behaviors, and interactions that would otherwise be invisible. They show where animals are, how they move, and how they respond to their environment. In a place where traditional observation is nearly impossible, light becomes a tracer, outlining life in the darkness. Thanks to robotic exploration, we now know that the deep ocean is not just dark, it is selectively illuminated. Creatures carry their own light sources, switching them on and off with purpose. They are not passive residents of a lightless world. They are active participants, shaping their environment through chemistry and evolution. And with robotic eyes watching silently, we are finally learning how much is being said in the deep sea, one glow at a time. For most of human history, the ocean floor was imagined as a flat, featureless plain, a kind of underwater nothingness stretching endlessly beneath the waves. That assumption did not come from evidence, it came from ignorance. When deep-sea robots began mapping the seafloor in detail, that simple picture collapsed faster than a bad travel brochure. What emerged instead was a landscape as complex and dramatic as anything on land, complete with towering mountains, deep valleys, sharp ridges, and trenches so vast they redefine the word deep. Mapping the ocean floor is not about drawing pretty pictures. It is about understanding the shape of the planet itself. The seafloor influences ocean currents, geological activity, and the distribution of life. But because it lies hidden beneath kilometers of water, traditional mapping methods do not work. Satellites can only infer so much from the surface. To truly understand the seafloor, robots must go down and listen to it, measure it, and trace its contours with painstaking precision. Deep-sea mapping robots use sophisticated instruments that send signals downward and measure how long it takes for those signals to return after bouncing off the seabed. By repeating this process thousands or millions of times, they build detailed three-dimensional representations of the terrain. Each pass adds another layer of information, refining the map and revealing features that were previously invisible. Over time, what begins as a rough outline becomes a highly resolved landscape, rich with detail. What these maps have revealed is nothing short of astonishing. Underwater mountain ranges stretch across entire ocean basins, rivaling the largest terrestrial ranges in scale. Trenches plunge to depths that dwarf even the tallest peaks on land. There are plateaus, escarpments, and valleys carved by forces operating over millions of years. These features are not static. They record the history of the planet, marking places where tectonic plates collide, pull apart, or slide past one another. Robots are uniquely suited to this task because they can operate close to the seafloor for extended periods. This proximity allows for much higher resolution mapping than surface-based methods. Instead of broad estimates, scientists get precise measurements. Slopes become visible. Subtle variations in elevation emerge. Patterns form that hint at processes shaping the ocean floor. Each map is a story, written in contours and depths. There is also an unexpected emotional impact to these discoveries. Seeing the seafloor mapped in detail challenges our sense of familiarity with Earth. These landscapes are real, immense and ancient, yet they are completely absent from everyday human experience. They exist beneath shipping lanes, beneath storms, beneath entire continents of water quietly shaping the planet. Robots give us access to these hidden worlds, making the invisible visible. Mapping also changes how we think about exploration itself. Unlike a single dramatic discovery, mapping is cumulative. It requires patience and repetition. Robots must follow carefully planned paths, scanning the same areas from multiple angles to ensure accuracy. This is not glamorous work, but it is foundational. Without accurate maps, deeper questions about geology, biology, and ocean dynamics remain unanswered. As mapping technology improves, the level of detail continues to increase. Features once thought too small or subtle to detect are now visible. Tiny ridges, collapsed structures, and sediment patterns appear, offering clues about recent events and ongoing processes. The seafloor is not just a static backdrop. It is active, shaped by forces that continue to operate today. Perhaps the most humbling realization is how little of the ocean floor we have actually mapped in high resolution. Vast areas remain only roughly sketched, their true shapes still unknown. Every new map is a reminder of how much remains to be discovered. And every robotic survey brings us closer to understanding the full complexity of the planet we call home. Thanks to robotic explorers, the ocean floor is no longer a blank space on the map. It is a detailed, dynamic landscape, more dramatic than most vacation photos and far less crowded. And while we may never walk these underwater mountains and valleys, we can finally see them for what they are. Hidden continents revealed one careful scan at a time. If pressure were a personality, the deep sea would be the friend who never raises their voice, but somehow still completely overwhelms you. It does not slam into things. It does not rush. It simply applies itself evenly, endlessly, and without mercy. For deep-sea robots, surviving this environment is not about toughness in the traditional sense. It is about design that accepts pressure as a fact of life and works with it instead of fighting it. The most important concept in pressure survival is enclosure. Deep-sea robots protect their sensitive components inside pressure housings, which are sealed containers designed to maintain a safe internal environment no matter what is happening outside. These housings are not built like submarines with roomy interiors and creature comforts. They are compact, minimalist, and unapologetically dense. Empty space is the enemy. Any void inside a housing becomes a liability under pressure, so engineers pack components tightly, leaving no room for compression or collapse. Shape matters just as much as material. Flat surfaces are weak points under uniform pressure, so pressure housings are often cylindrical or spherical. These shapes distribute force evenly, preventing stress from concentrating in one place. It is the same reason bubbles are round, and why domes survive storms better than flat roofs. The ocean presses from every direction, and round shapes politely redirect that force without complaint. Material choice is a careful balancing act. Metals like titanium are popular because they offer high strength while resisting corrosion. Other alloys are chosen for specific combinations of durability, weight, and manufacturability. Every material decision affects cost, buoyancy, and performance. Too heavy, and the robot becomes difficult to maneuver. Too light, and it may not survive the descent. Engineers must think like chess players, planning several moves ahead with every choice. Sealing these housings is another critical challenge. A pressure housing is only as strong as its weakest seal. Even a tiny imperfection can allow water to force its way inside, and once that happens, failure is swift and unforgiving. Engineers use specialized seals designed to become tighter as pressure increases. Instead of resisting the force, they exploit it, allowing the ocean itself to help keep the housing closed. It is a rare case where being squeezed actually makes things safer. Not everything on a deep-sea robot can be placed inside a pressure housing. Motors, connectors, and some sensors must interact directly with the environment. For these components, engineers use pressure-tolerant designs. Instead of keeping pressure out, these systems allow it in, filling internal spaces with incompressible fluids that transmit pressure evenly. By eliminating air-filled voids, the components avoid being crushed. The robot essentially accepts the pressure as a roommate and learns to coexist. Testing these systems is an exercise in controlled stress. Before a robot ever sees the ocean, its components are subjected to simulated pressure in specialized chambers. Engineers increase pressure gradually, monitoring for leaks, deformation, or unexpected behavior. These tests are not glamorous, but they are essential. A failure in the lab is inconvenient. A failure at depth can mean the permanent loss of an entire vehicle. What makes all of this remarkable is how quietly it works. When a deep-sea robot descends, there is no dramatic struggle against the environment. The pressure increases, the housings hold, and the machine continues functioning as designed. From the outside, nothing seems to change. Inside, electronics operate in calm isolation, protected by layers of engineering foresight. It is not bravery, it is preparation. There is also a philosophical lesson hidden in these designs. Humans tend to respond to stress by resisting it, pushing back harder. Deep-sea robots survive by doing the opposite. They minimize vulnerabilities, distribute forces, and adapt to their surroundings. They do not fight the pressure, they accommodate it. In that sense, pressure housings really are stronger than most emotional support systems. They are built not to eliminate stress, but to endure it gracefully. Every successful deep-sea mission is a quiet endorsement of this approach. The robot returns intact, its systems still functioning, its data intact. The ocean applied its full weight, and the machine simply said, "That is fine. Thanks to these unassuming metal shells, exploration can continue in places where pressure would instantly destroy anything unprepared. So, when a deep-sea robot sinks into the darkness, wrapped in its pressure housings, it is carrying more than electronics. It is carrying the accumulated knowledge of engineers who learned how to survive, not by overpowering the deep ocean, but by understanding it well enough to live within its rules. Scattered across the ocean floor are the remains of human ambition. Ships that once carried explorers, merchants, soldiers, and dreamers now rest in silence, slowly becoming part of the seafloor itself. For centuries, these wrecks were unreachable, their stories sealed away by depth, darkness, and danger. Deep-sea robots changed that, allowing us to explore shipwrecks not as conquerors or treasure hunters, but as careful observers of history, frozen in place. Shipwreck exploration is a delicate balance between curiosity and respect. These sites are time capsules, preserving moments from the past exactly as they ended. A broken mast, a scattered cargo, a hull split open by impact or time. Each detail tells a story, and disturbing that story can erase information forever. Robots are ideal for this work because they can approach slowly, hover precisely, and observe without touching. They do not get tempted by shiny objects. They do not pocket souvenirs. They simply document. Robotic cameras glide through wreck sites, capturing angles that would be impossible for human divers, even in shallow water. They peer into collapsed corridors, scan decks encrusted with marine life, and trace the outlines of structures that once bustled with activity. Over time, these images are stitched together into detailed models, allowing historians and archaeologists to study the wreck as if they were there, minus the crushing pressure and existential dread. One of the most fascinating aspects of shipwreck exploration is how quickly nature reclaims human creations. Wrecks become artificial reefs, hosting entire communities of organisms. Metal surfaces corrode and soften, wood decays, and new life moves in. Robots document this process in detail, showing how history and biology intertwine. A cannon becomes a shelter. A railing becomes a garden. The wreck is no longer just a human artifact. It is part of the ecosystem. Robots also allow researchers to study wrecks that are far too fragile for direct contact. Some ships have survived remarkably intact due to cold, low oxygen conditions, while others are on the brink of collapse. Even a gentle touch could cause irreversible damage. Robotic exploration avoids this risk, using visual documentation and non-invasive scanning techniques to gather information without altering the site. The goal is preservation through understanding, not extraction. There is also an emotional weight to these explorations. Shipwrecks often represent moments of tragedy, lives lost, journeys cut short. Standing on a ship's deck is one thing. Seeing it broken and silent on the seafloor is another. Robots provide a respectful distance, allowing us to witness these sights without turning them into spectacles. The machines do not judge or romanticize, they record. Deep-sea robots have expanded the range of shipwrecks that can be studied, reaching vessels from different eras and purposes. Warships, cargo vessels, exploration ships, all resting at depths that were once unreachable. Each wreck adds a piece to the puzzle of human maritime history, revealing details about shipbuilding, trade routes, and daily life at sea. These are not stories found in books. They are stories etched in rust and sediment. The data collected by robots also helps protect wreck sites. Accurate documentation allows authorities to monitor changes over time, detect damage, and manage conservation efforts. By knowing what is there and how it is changing, we can make informed decisions about preservation. In this way, robots act not just as explorers, but as guardians of underwater heritage. And yes, there is always the lingering sense of mystery. Shipwrecks carry legends, myths, and the occasional whispered rumor of treasure or ghosts. Robots, thankfully, are immune to superstition. They approach with steady lights and quiet motors, unfazed by history's drama. They do not wake pirate ghosts, they just keep filming. Through robotic exploration, shipwrecks become bridges between past and present. They remind us that the ocean is not just a natural space, but a historical one. Beneath the waves lie chapters of human history waiting to be read, and thanks to robots, we can read them carefully, respectfully, and without becoming part of the wreck ourselves. If you want to understand just how creative evolution can be, send a robot into the deep sea and turn on the cameras. Again and again, robotic explorers have returned with images of creatures so unfamiliar that they look less like animals and more like rejected concepts from a science fiction movie. Limbs in unexpected places, bodies without obvious faces, movements that seem to ignore basic expectations of anatomy. And yet, every one of these creatures is perfectly adapted to its environment. The deep sea is not weird by accident. It is weird by design. Robots play a crucial role in discovering new species because they can access environments that are otherwise unreachable. Many deep-sea habitats are isolated, extreme, and sparsely populated. Animals living there are often rare, slow-growing, and difficult to observe. A brief glimpse from a passing vehicle might be the only encounter scientists ever have with a particular species. Robots allow these encounters to happen at all, capturing images, videos, and measurements that form the first evidence of life forms previously unknown to science. What makes deep-sea species discovery particularly challenging is that these animals often do not behave in ways we expect. They may move slowly to conserve energy, blend seamlessly into their surroundings, or remain motionless for long periods. Robotic explorers must be patient, covering large areas and recording continuously to catch these subtle signs of life. When a new organism finally appears on screen, it can feel like spotting a mythological creature wandering into frame, completely unaware it is making scientific history. Once a potential new species is observed, robots help document it thoroughly. High-resolution imagery captures body shape, texture, and movement. Measurements provide scale and context. Environmental data reveals the conditions in which the organism lives. All of this information is essential for determining whether the animal represents a new species or a variation of something already known. Without robotic exploration, many of these creatures would remain invisible, living and dying without ever being recognized by science. The deep sea encourages designs that challenge our assumptions about what animals should look like. Without sunlight, camouflage takes different forms. Without abundant food, energy efficiency becomes paramount. Limbs may be elongated, reduced, or repurposed. Eyes may be enormous, tiny, or missing altogether. Some animals appear almost transparent, while others are armoured or gelatinous. These are not aesthetic choices. They are solutions to very specific problems posed by the environment. Robots also reveal how much we still do not understand about biodiversity. Each expedition seems to uncover organisms that do not fit neatly into existing categories. This forces scientists to revisit classification systems and rethink evolutionary relationships. The deep sea acts as a reminder that life is not obligated to follow human expectations. Evolution does not care about symmetry, familiarity, or elegance. It cares about survival, and it will happily produce something that looks absurd if it works. There is a quiet excitement in the moment a new species is recognized. It is not usually accompanied by dramatic music or triumphant speeches. Instead, it is a careful realization, built from repeated observations and comparisons. Robots provide the raw material for these moments, gathering the evidence needed to turn curiosity into knowledge. They are the scouts, venturing ahead and reporting back with proof that there is still plenty left to discover. Beyond scientific classification, discovering new species has broader implications. Each new organism expands our understanding of how life can function. It reveals new strategies for survival, new biological processes, and new relationships between organisms and their environment. In some cases, these discoveries even inspire technological or medical innovation, as scientists study how deep-sea creatures solve problems that humans are still struggling with. Perhaps the most humbling aspect of all this is how common these discoveries are. The deep sea is not running out of surprises. It is overflowing with them. The reason we are still discovering new species is not because they are rare, but because we have only recently gained the tools to look properly. Robots have opened a window into a vast biological frontier, one where evolution has been experimenting quietly for millions of years. So when a robot's camera captures an animal that looks completely alien, it is not evidence that something strange is happening down there. It is evidence that life, given enough time and freedom, will explore every possibility. Evolution may not hold design meetings, but it certainly does not lack imagination. And thanks to robotic explorers, we are finally invited to see the results. When people think of earthquakes, they usually imagine shaking cities, rattling dishes, and dramatic news footage. What almost never comes to mind is the ocean. And yet, the majority of Earth's seismic activity happens beneath the waves, far from human eyes and ears. Entire tectonic plates grind, collide, and slide past one another in total darkness, producing earthquakes that no one feels, and shaping the planet in ways we only recently began to understand. Robotic exploration is the reason that silence is finally being translated into knowledge. The ocean floor sits atop massive slabs of rock that are constantly moving, though at speeds slow enough to make watching paint dry look impatient. Where these plates meet, stress builds. Eventually, that stress is released as earthquakes. On land, these events are monitored by dense networks of instruments. Underwater, for most of history, they were effectively invisible. Seawater blocks many traditional observation methods, and the depths involved make permanent human presence impossible. Robots changed that equation. Deep-sea robots allow scientists to place instruments directly on or near tectonic boundaries. These machines can transport and deploy sensors that measure subtle vibrations, ground movement, and pressure changes. Once installed, these instruments listen continuously, recording seismic whispers that would never reach the surface. Robots act as the delivery system, carefully positioning this equipment in places where the Earth is actively reshaping itself. One of the most important discoveries enabled by robotic exploration is that not all earthquakes behave the same way. Beneath the ocean, scientists have detected slow earthquakes, events that release energy gradually over days or weeks instead of seconds. These do not cause shaking anyone would notice, but they play a crucial role in how stress builds along plate boundaries. Without robots placing sensors close enough to detect these subtle movements, slow earthquakes might still be completely unknown. Robots also help scientists study subduction zones, where one tectonic plate slides beneath another. These regions are responsible for some of the most powerful earthquakes on Earth, but they are almost entirely underwater. Robotic missions allow researchers to map fault structures, observe deformation, and monitor changes over time. This information helps build more accurate models of how and when large earthquakes might occur, even if prediction remains an unsolved puzzle. There is a particular elegance to how robots contribute to this work. They do not rush in, grab data, and leave. Many missions involve long-term monitoring, with robots returning periodically to check instruments, retrieve data, or install new sensors. This persistence is essential. Tectonic processes operate on timescales that do not align with human impatience. Robots are content to wait, listening quietly while the planet does its thing. Robotic exploration has also revealed that the ocean itself responds to tectonic activity. Pressure changes associated with seismic events can affect the water above, and in some cases, these changes can be detected by instruments on the seafloor. By correlating geological and oceanographic data, scientists gain a more complete picture of how Earth systems interact. The boundary between solid rock and moving water turns out to be more connected than anyone once assumed. Understanding underwater earthquakes is not just an academic exercise. Many coastal hazards originate offshore. Earthquakes beneath the ocean can trigger tsunamis, landslides, and seafloor shifts that have real consequences for human communities. Robotic data improves models that help assess these risks. While robots cannot prevent earthquakes, they can improve our understanding of where stress accumulates and how energy is released, which ultimately supports better preparedness. There is something poetic about robots listening to the Earth's internal movements in complete darkness. No explosions, no drama, just slow, relentless motion recorded by instruments resting on the seafloor. These machines bear silent witness to forces that have shaped the planet for billions of years, translating subtle shifts into streams of data that humans can finally interpret. In the end, robotic exploration reminds us that the Earth is never truly still. Beneath the calm surface of the ocean, continents are in motion, colliding and separating in a process that never stops. Thanks to robots, that silent activity is no longer hidden. We are learning to hear the planet think, one underwater tremor at a time. For a long time, the deep sea was imagined as a final refuge, a place so distant and inaccessible that human influence could not possibly reach it. Out of sight, out of mind, and hopefully out of reach. Deep sea robots have quietly and thoroughly destroyed that comforting illusion. Wherever robots go, they find evidence of us. Not our cities or monuments, but the things we drop, discard, and forget. Slowly drifting downward until they reach the deepest parts of the planet. Studying pollution in the deep sea is uniquely challenging. These environments are vast, dark, and difficult to access, which makes large-scale observation nearly impossible without robotic assistance. Robots act as mobile surveyors, scanning the seafloor and documenting what they find. And what they find is often unsettling. Plastic bags tangled on rocks, bottles half buried in sediment, fibers woven into the seafloor like unwanted embroidery. The deep ocean may be remote, but it is not isolated. Robotic explorers allow scientists to quantify pollution rather than just react to shocking images. By mapping debris distribution and recording its types, researchers can begin to understand how human waste travels through the ocean. Currents carry lightweight materials across vast distances, while heavier items sink closer to their point of origin. Robots track these patterns, revealing that pollution pathways are complex and global. A wrapper dropped on land can, given enough time, end up in a trench no human has ever visited. Beyond visible debris, robots also study microplastics and chemical contamination. Specialized sensors and sampling tools allow robots to collect sediment and water for analysis. These samples reveal tiny plastic fragments and synthetic fibers that are invisible to the naked eye, but abundant in the deep sea. These particles do not biodegrade quickly. Instead, they persist, accumulating in environments where life evolves slowly and disturbance has long-lasting effects. Robots also help scientists understand how pollution interacts with deep-sea ecosystems. Debris becomes habitat, altering natural structures and providing surfaces for organisms to colonize. While this may sound harmless, it can disrupt existing ecological balances. Chemical pollutants can accumulate in sediments, entering food webs in ways that are difficult to trace. Robots provide the observational reach needed to study these interactions without adding further disturbance. One of the most sobering aspects of robotic pollution studies is the timescale involved. The deep sea changes slowly. Objects deposited there may remain for decades or centuries. Robots documenting pollution are not just recording a snapshot of human impact. They are capturing a long-term record of our habits. The deep ocean remembers what we throw away, even when we do not. There is also an emotional dimension to these discoveries. Seeing pollution in the deep sea strips away the idea that distance equals protection. These are places that feel untouched, almost sacred in their remoteness. Robots show us that no place on Earth is truly beyond our influence. The ocean connects everything, carrying our waste along with our curiosity. Robotic studies of deep-sea pollution are not just about documenting damage. They inform policy and conservation efforts by providing concrete evidence of the scale and reach of the problem. Without this data, it would be easy to dismiss deep-sea pollution as rare or insignificant. Robots remove that ambiguity. They show us exactly where our impact reaches and how persistent it is. There is a strange irony in the role robots play here. The same machines that help us explore, discover, and understand the deep sea also reveal our less admirable legacy. They do not judge. They simply record. But the story they tell is hard to ignore. The deep ocean, once thought to be pristine, carries the fingerprints of human activity in plastic, chemicals, and debris. In exposing deep-sea pollution, robots force us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Our actions ripple outward, far beyond where we can see. The deep sea is not a dumping ground or a forgotten void. It is part of a connected system that reflects our choices. And thanks to robotic explorers, the most remote corners of the planet are now speaking back, quietly, through images of snack wrappers resting in the dark. From the surface, piloting a deep-sea robot looks deceptively calm. A room full of screens, a chair, a few joysticks, maybe a coffee. But beneath that calm is one of the strangest control problems humans have ever created. You are trying to move a machine you cannot see directly, in an environment you cannot experience, through a medium that does not behave like air, while relying on information that is always slightly out of date. It is less like driving and more like trying to thread a needle using a mirror and a delay. The most noticeable challenge is time. Signals sent from the surface to a robot and data sent back up do not arrive instantly. Even small delays can matter. When an operator moves a control, the robot responds a fraction of a second later. When the robot's camera updates, it shows what happened a moment ago. This gap is tiny, but the human brain is extremely sensitive to timing mismatches. The result feels like lag in a video game, except the stakes involve fragile equipment, irreplaceable samples, and the occasional $1 million repair bill. This delay forces operators to think ahead rather than react. You cannot wait to see a problem and then respond. By the time you see it, it has already happened. Instead, pilots learn to anticipate motion, predicting where the robot will be based on its current trajectory and the surrounding environment. This requires intense concentration and experience. New operators often overcorrect, leading to jerky movements. Experienced pilots move slowly, smoothly, and with a kind of practiced patience that looks almost boring, which is exactly what you want in the deep sea. Another challenge is perspective. Robots send back video, but video flattens a three-dimensional world into a two-dimensional image. Depth perception is limited, and scale can be misleading. A small object close to the camera can look enormous, while a large structure farther away may seem harmlessly distant. Operators must constantly cross-reference multiple camera views, instrument readings, and mental maps to understand where the robot actually is. It is a skill that takes time to develop and is surprisingly exhausting. Then there is the issue of sensory imbalance. Humans evolved to move through the world with a rich mix of feedback. We feel acceleration, we sense balance, we hear changes in sound. When piloting a deep-sea robot, almost all of that is gone. The operator sits still while the robot moves. The body feels nothing, while the eyes and brain work overtime. This disconnect can cause fatigue and disorientation, especially during long shifts. Piloting becomes less about physical coordination and more about mental endurance. Communication within the control room adds another layer of complexity. Pilots are rarely alone. Scientists, engineers, and technicians often watch the same screens, each focused on different priorities. One person wants a closer look. Another is worried about clearance. Someone else is monitoring system health. Decisions must be made collaboratively, sometimes quickly, sometimes cautiously. Clear communication is essential because confusion on the surface can translate into mistakes in the deep. Interface design plays a huge role in managing these challenges. Controls must be intuitive, displays must be clear, and alerts must be informative without being overwhelming. Too much information creates noise. Too little creates blind spots. Engineers spend enormous effort refining these interfaces, trying to make the robot's state as understandable as possible. The goal is to reduce cognitive load so operators can focus on decision-making rather than decoding what the system is telling them. There is also the psychological weight of responsibility. When you are piloting a deep-sea robot, you are its only connection to safety. A wrong move can damage the vehicle or end a mission prematurely. Unlike a simulation or a game, there is no reset button. This pressure changes how people operate. Movements become deliberate. Risks are weighed carefully. The pace slows, not because the operators are hesitant, but because caution is a form of skill. Over time, experienced pilots develop an almost intuitive connection to the robot. They learn its quirks, its response times, its tendencies in different conditions. The robot becomes familiar, not emotional, but predictable. This familiarity builds trust, which is essential when working with delayed feedback. You are not reacting to what you see. You are trusting that what you told the robot to do is happening as expected. In the end, controlling deep-sea robots from the surface is a lesson in humility and adaptation. Humans must accept that they are not fully in control, that their senses are limited, and that precision comes from patience rather than speed. It is exploration, mediated by technology and restraint. And while it may feel like underwater lag, it is also proof that even with distance, delay, and darkness, humans can still reach into the deep and guide a machine with surprising grace. For all their sophistication, most deep-sea robots today still look like machines. Boxes, frames, thrusters, arms, bolted on where needed. They work remarkably well, but the ocean has been quietly hinting that there may be better ways to move through it. After all, the deep sea has been refining mobility for hundreds of millions of years, and not once did it settle on metal rectangle with propellers. The future of deep-sea robotics is beginning to take that hint seriously. One of the most exciting directions is the idea of robotic swarms. Instead of sending a single complex vehicle to do everything, scientists are exploring the use of many smaller robots working together. Each unit is relatively simple, but collectively they can cover large areas, share information, and adapt to changing conditions. Think less lone explorer and more coordinated school of fish, except with better data management and fewer arguments about direction. Swarms offer resilience. If one robot fails, the mission does not end. The others keep working. This approach mirrors how natural systems handle risk, distributing effort rather than concentrating it in a single vulnerable point. Swarm robots can spread out to map terrain, track changes, or monitor environments over time, then regroup to relay information. The deep sea is vast, and swarms acknowledge that scale by embracing numbers instead of complexity. Another major shift is happening in how robots move. Traditional thrusters are effective but noisy, energy intensive, and sometimes disruptive to the surrounding environment. Enter soft robotics, a field inspired directly by the animals that already thrive in the deep ocean. Soft robots are made from flexible materials that bend, stretch, and deform, allowing them to move more like living organisms. Instead of rigid joints and spinning blades, they pulse, undulate, and glide. Jellyfish are a favorite muse here, and for good reason. They are astonishingly efficient movers, drifting and propelling themselves with minimal energy. Soft robotic designs mimic this motion, using gentle contractions to push against the water. This kind of movement is quieter and less intrusive, making it ideal for observing sensitive environments without disturbing them. It also reduces mechanical stress, which can improve longevity in harsh conditions. Soft robots also have a surprising advantage when it comes to durability. Flexibility allows them to absorb impacts and adapt to uneven terrain, where a rigid machine might jam, crack, or snag. A soft robot can squeeze, bend, and recover. In the unpredictable landscapes of the deep sea, this adaptability is invaluable. It is the difference between forcing the environment to accommodate the machine and designing the machine to accommodate the environment. Future robots are also becoming more biologically inspired in how they sense and respond to the world. Instead of relying solely on centralized control systems, designers are experimenting with distributed intelligence, where different parts of the robot handle local decisions. This mirrors how animals operate, reacting quickly to immediate stimuli without consulting a central authority. The result is behavior that looks less mechanical and more organic, even though it is still entirely engineered. Energy is another frontier driving innovation. Future designs aim to be more efficient, harvesting energy from their surroundings or operating for longer periods without intervention. The deep sea offers gradients in temperature and chemistry that could one day be tapped to extend mission durations. Robots that can linger, drift, and observe over long timescales would open new windows into slow processes that are currently difficult to study. There is also a philosophical shift embedded in these designs. Early deep-sea robots were built to conquer an environment, to resist it with strength and rigidity. New designs aim to coexist. They flow with currents instead of fighting them. They minimize disturbance. They blend into the environment rather than imposing themselves upon it. This is not just good engineering, it is good science. Of course, these future robots are still very much a work in progress. Soft materials must withstand pressure. Swarm coordination must be reliable. New systems must prove themselves in one of the most unforgiving environments on Earth. But the direction is clear. The future of deep-sea exploration will look less like heavy machinery and more like life itself, gliding, pulsing, and cooperating in the dark. As engineers continue to learn from the ocean, the line between machine and organism will blur, not in function, but in form. And somewhere in the deep, a soft robot drifting gently past an ancient landscape may finally look like it belongs there, moving not like a stressed engineer designed it, but like the ocean quietly suggested all along. For most of human history, the deep sea existed as an idea rather than a place, a vast black nothing beneath the waves, too dark, too deep, too hostile to matter. It was imagined as empty space, a liquid void where life thinned out and eventually disappeared. Robotic eyes shattered that assumption. With every descent, they revealed not absence, but presence. Not silence, but activity. The deep sea is not an empty wilderness. It is a living world, densely occupied in ways that challenge everything we thought we knew about life. Seeing changes, understanding in a way that numbers and theories cannot. When robotic cameras first sent back images of life thriving in the deep, it forced a re-evaluation of basic biological assumptions. Life was not clinging to the edges of survivability. It was settled, adapted, and, in many places, abundant. Animals were not just surviving, they were building communities, filling niches, and interacting in complex ways. Darkness did not mean death. It simply meant different rules. Robotic eyes revealed that the deep sea operates like a city spread across unimaginable distances. There are neighborhoods defined by geography, chemistry, and resources. Some areas are bustling, with constant motion and interaction. Others are quiet, with residents that conserve energy and wait patiently for opportunities. Movement happens in slow, deliberate patterns, and encounters are often brief but meaningful. It is not chaos. It is order tuned to scarcity. What makes this city so strange is how unfamiliar its residents appear. Forms of life that would seem impossible on land are routine here. Bodies stretch, compress, glow, and vanish. Feeding strategies are ingenious, sometimes unsettling, always efficient. Robotic observation allows us to watch these behaviors unfold naturally, without interference. Over time, patterns emerge. The strange becomes understandable. The alien becomes logical. This shift in perception has profound implications for how we define life's limits. The deep sea demonstrates that life is not fragile in the way we often assume. It is flexible, inventive, and stubbornly persistent. Robotic exploration has shown us organisms thriving under pressures and conditions once thought incompatible with biology. That knowledge ripples outward, influencing how we think about life in extreme environments elsewhere, both on Earth and beyond. Robotic eyes also changed our understanding of isolation. The deep sea is vast, but it is not disconnected. Currents link distant regions. Migrating species move between depths. Nutrients and energy flow in subtle ways. Life there is not random or isolated, but part of a connected system that spans the entire ocean. Robots help reveal these connections by providing consistent, repeated observations across time and space. There is also a human shift that comes with seeing the deep sea clearly. Awe replaces fear. Curiosity replaces myth. The monsters of imagination give way to organisms that are no less fascinating, but far more real. This does not make the deep sea less mysterious. It makes the mystery richer. Understanding does not drain wonder. It deepens it. Robotic eyes remind us that perception shapes belief. When the deep sea was invisible, it was easy to dismiss it as empty or irrelevant. Now that we can see it, we are forced to acknowledge its complexity and importance. This has consequences for how we value and protect it. You cannot care about what you do not know exists. Visibility creates responsibility. The crowded nature of the deep sea also challenges our sense of scale. Humans tend to think in terms of what is immediately around them. The deep ocean operates on different dimensions, where density is not measured by proximity, but by adaptation. Life is spread out, but it is everywhere. Robots help bridge that gap, translating a world measured in kilometers and centuries into something we can grasp. In the end, robotic eyes did more than show us new creatures or landscapes. They changed our relationship with the planet. They revealed that one of Earth's largest habitats was never empty. It was simply unseen. The deep sea is not a barren abyss. It is a crowded city with very strange neighbours going about their lives in the dark, unaware that we are finally watching and quietly realising that life, given the chance, fills every corner it can reach. Every robotic dive begins the same way, with a machine lowering into water that grows darker by the second. The surface world fades, sunlight disappears, and familiar reference points vanish. And yet what is really descending is not just hardware. It is human curiosity, packed into metal and circuits, sent downward with a simple instruction: go look. In that act, something profound happens. We accept our physical limits without surrendering our desire to understand. Humans are not built for the deep sea. We cannot breathe there, see there, or withstand its pressure. But curiosity does not care about biology. It looks for ways around obstacles. Robots are those ways. They are extensions of human intent, tools that allow us to ask questions in places we cannot survive. Each dive is a reminder that exploration is not defined by where we can stand, but by where we can learn. What makes robotic exploration so powerful is that it transforms the unknown into the observed. The deep sea stops being an abstract idea and becomes a series of moments. A strange movement on a screen, an unexpected shape drifting past, a landscape that no human eye has ever seen directly. These moments accumulate, building a new understanding of the world, piece by piece. Curiosity thrives on this accumulation, growing stronger with each answer, not weaker. Robotic dives also demonstrate that exploration is no longer about planting flags or claiming territory. It is about listening, observing, and documenting. Robots do not conquer the deep sea. They witness it. They allow us to engage with environments respectfully, gathering knowledge without demanding dominance. This shift reflects a maturing curiosity, one that values understanding over ownership. There is something deeply human in the way we celebrate robotic discoveries. When a robot captures a surprising image, the reaction is immediate and collective. Scientists lean forward, engineers smile. Viewers around the world feel a spark of wonder. These reactions are not about the machine itself. They are about what the machine reveals. The robot is a messenger, and the message is always bigger than the hardware. Robotic exploration also democratizes discovery. You do not need to be on a ship or trained as a diver to witness the deep sea. Images and data are shared, studied, and discussed by people far from the ocean. Curiosity becomes communal. The deep sea enters classrooms, living rooms, and imaginations. Exploration is no longer reserved for a select few. It becomes a shared human experience. Each dive also carries uncertainty. Robots descend without knowing exactly what they will find. That uncertainty is not a flaw. It is the point. Curiosity thrives in the space between expectation and surprise. When robots reveal something unexpected, they remind us that the world is still capable of surprising us. In an age where much of the planet feels mapped and measured, the deep sea stands as proof that mystery still exists. Robotic exploration also forces humility. The more we see, the more we realize how much remains unseen. Every answer leads to new questions. Every discovery opens new gaps in understanding. This is not discouraging. It is invigorating. Curiosity is not satisfied by completion. It is sustained by possibility. In the quiet persistence of robotic dives, there is a lesson about patience. Progress does not always come in dramatic leaps. Sometimes it comes in steady descents, careful observations, and incremental insights. Curiosity does not rush. It endures. Robots embody that endurance, returning again and again to the depths, asking the same question in different ways. What is here? As the robot eventually ascends, bringing its data back to the surface, the dive technically ends, but curiosity does not. The images are analyzed. The questions multiply. Plans for the next dive begin almost immediately. Exploration becomes a cycle, driven not by necessity, but by wonder. In the end, robotic dives prove something essential about humanity. Even when our bodies cannot follow, our curiosity refuses to stay behind. It builds tools, solves problems, and reaches outward. The deep sea may remain inhospitable, dark, and distant, but it is no longer unreachable. Because wherever curiosity can be sent, it will go.